He died quietly. No drama. No final words. No tears. Just silence. And the slow sound of the monitor. Beeping. Then stopping. I held his hand, even though he couldn't feel it anymore. It didn't feel like goodbye. It felt like something unfinished. He was never the warm kind of father. Never the type who told stories or hugged too long. He was father, not dad. And after the funeral, I didn't cry. My mom cried. My brother cried. Even one of his old coworkers cried. But I just stood there, still, cold, empty. I returned to my apartment. It felt more hollow than usual, like someone had taken the sound out of the walls. A week passed. On Sunday, I went down to check the mail, bills, ads, and one envelope. Off-white, old-fashioned. My name on the front. Not Alina, but Lena, the way only he used to write it. The handwriting was his, undeniably his. I recognized every loop, every curl of the letters. I stood in the hallway, frozen, holding it like it might disappear. And then I opened it. Just one page, about 10 lines. Lena, you don't think this is over. I know I left you with questions, but you didn't say everything either. We never knew how to talk, but we can still learn. Don't look for me where I'm not. Look within yourself. Start with what you've forgotten. Check the old drawer by the bookcase. No signature. I read it 4 times. It wasn't a prank. Not my brother. Not mom. It was real. I could feel it. My heart started pounding. Fast. Loud. Like when I was a child and he called me into the room. I sat down on the floor, right there in the hallway, and I cried. Not at the funeral. Not when I packed his things. Not when I locked his apartment for the last time. But now, because of that handwriting, that name, those words, because somehow they still felt alive, like he wasn't gone, like he was just waiting for me to answer. The second letter arrived 3 days later. I wasn't surprised this time. Same envelope, same paper, same handwriting, but this time it just said one word on the front. Remember? I took it upstairs, closed the windows, silenced my phone, and opened it. When you were 9, you came to me at night. You stood by my bed and said, "He's standing in the closet." I told you it was just a dream, but you didn't believe me. You kept seeing him again and again. A black figure. Silent. You stopped trusting me after that, and I stopped trusting myself. Now you're grown, but you still don't believe. And he's standing beside you again. Letter 3 is in the box with the photos. I froze. I didn't remember any of it. I couldn't remember being 9. No dreams. No figures. No closets. But that last line, he's standing beside you again. My whole body turned cold. I knew where the photo box was. Top shelf of the closet, buried behind clothes I hadn't touched in years. I pulled it down, opened it. Right on top, another letter. With today's date, that was impossible. Mail came at noon. I was home by 12:45. No one had touched the closet. No one but me. But the letter was there. Fresh. Waiting. I opened it. You don't remember, because you chose not to. But the nights were real, and I was wrong to make you silence them. We carry fear in our bloodlines, and you're continuing mine. Open the photo album. 5th page. Look closely. I grabbed the album. 5th page. A photo of our backyard. I'm on the bench with my teddy bear. He's next to me. It looks normal, but in the window behind us, in the top corner, A shadow. Not blurry. Not a smudge. A figure. Clear. Human. No face. I stared at it, and something in me cracked. I'd seen it before. I knew it was there, but I had chosen not to remember. Suddenly the room felt deeper. Not darker, just more layered. Like I had been living on the surface, and now I dropped beneath it. I put the letters, the photo, back into the box, and for the first time, I felt like I couldn't breathe. Not from panic, but because someone else might be breathing with me. I kept putting it off, going back to the house. His house, the one from childhood, the one I said I'd never step into again. But after the third letter, I didn't have a choice. It took just over an hour to get there. The neighborhood was quieter than I remembered. Or maybe it was always that way. I stood in front of the door, key in hand, and for a second, I awaited to hear his voice inside. But there was only silence. I opened the door, and nothing had changed. Not really. The mug was still on the table. His shirt still draped over the chair. Newspapers stacked beside the armchair. But the silence inside wasn't empty. It was watching. I walked through the rooms. Step by step, they felt paused, as if frozen in time, waiting. I reached the study, his desk, his books, the old typewriter, and there, on top of everything, a letter. No envelope, just folded once, left in the center of the desk. If you're reading this, then you came, and I'm glad. Because this house remembers more than both of us combined. It remembers your voice, your dreams, your screams. You once told me, I don't want to come back here. But the house waited, and so did I. Under the bed, there's a box. It's yours, but don't open it, unless you're ready to remember. I stood in that room, frozen, then walked down the hallway, into the bedroom. I knelt, lifted the edge of the bed. The box was there, cardboard, taped, unmarked. It looked familiar, and at the same time, foreign. I sat down beside it, and opened it. Inside were drawings, childish, mine, and beneath them, another letter. Same handwriting, same weight. You drew the shadow. I didn't believe you, but the shadow stayed. It still visits dreams, not just mine. If you're reading this, she's probably with you again. The shadow has one rule. It doesn't tolerate lies. If you're honest, she won't hurt you. But if you lie, she'll show you the truth. And I remembered a dream from a few nights ago. A voice in the dark, asking me, did you draw me? And I said, no, I don't remember. And the voice whispered back, liar. I stayed in that bedroom until the sun went down. And then I laid down on the bed, held the box, and closed my eyes. And in my dream, I opened another box, and inside it was me and my father. And a figure, without a face. We all held pens, and we were all writing the same sentence, over and over. You always knew. You just chose to forget. I had to talk to someone, anyone. It wasn't the shadow that scared me most. It was the thought that maybe I'd made it all up, that maybe this was grief, wearing a clever disguise. I called my mother, told her about the letters. She went quiet, too quiet, then softly said, you're under stress, Lena. You're still mourning. I told her things the letters said, things no one else could know. She hesitated, then said, you just want him to still be here, but he's not. Click. I hung up, And for the first time, telling the truth felt worse than keeping it. Next, I met with Marta, my oldest friend, someone who knew me before the forgetting. We sat at a cafe. I brought one of the letters. She smiled politely at first, then read it. Her face changed. It says, "You hid a key in your shoe when you were 10. I told her. I never told anyone that. Not even you. Marta blinked, bit her lip. That's strange, she whispered. It's not strange, I said. It's impossible. And it's happening. The next day, a new letter arrived. But this time, it wasn't in the mailbox. It was on my kitchen table. I hadn't been in the kitchen that morning. I hadn't been anywhere. Just here, alone. I opened the letter. Your friend doesn't believe you, but she remembers. You should have asked her about the basement night. She's silent for a reason. You are not crazy. They just taught you to believe that. I called Marta again. Did you ever go into our basement? I asked. Silence. How do you know about that? She said. So, we were down there, together. One time, she said quietly, we were about 9. Your dad caught us, told us to get out. Why? I asked. Long pause. There was another child down there, she said. A boy, I think. I didn't know who he was. Your dad told us never to speak of it. And you never did? I asked. You never asked again, she said. You just erased it like it never happened. I thought maybe it was a dream. Another pause, but he had your eyes. That night, I left a voice recorder on. No camera, no lights, just sound. In the morning, I played it back. There were creaks, soft shifting. Then a voice, not mine, not his, low, heavy, calm. You were raised on silence, but the truth always grows back. Paper can hold anything. Flesh cannot. I played it again, and again. It was real. That afternoon, I reached into the coat I hadn't worn since spring. In the pocket, another letter. How it got there? I'll never know. Just one sentence. We've been inside you all along. When I opened the next letter, something felt off. Same format, same structure, same voice, but the handwriting was slightly different. The loops weren't smooth anymore. The lines were sharper. The ink pressed deeper into the paper, like someone was forcing it, or someone else was writing. You're getting closer, and not everyone's happy about it. You think I'm alone. I'm not. We are many, and not all of us want you to remember. But you've already seen too much, heard too much. You can't lie to yourself anymore. Tonight in your dream, you'll find a door. Don't close it, even if it terrifies you. That night, I fell asleep quickly. I dreamed of a white room, empty, no windows, just a single door, old, wooden, with a brass handle. I didn't want to touch it, but the door opened on its own, and behind it was me, but not me. Older, stronger, colder. Her eyes were darker. She didn't speak out loud, but I heard her anyway. I wrote the letters. I woke up, soaked in sweat, on my nightstand. Another letter. I hadn't left one there. You saw me. Now listen. We all left something for you. Each generation, one phrase. Together, they are the truth. But speaking it aloud is dangerous. So I ask this. Write everything you remember, especially the parts that feel made up. Those are the most real. Right. Because if you forget us, we disappear. And if we disappear, so do you. I picked up a pen. and started writing. It poured out of me, like I wasn't the one holding the pen. I wrote about places I'd never been, names I didn't recognize, scenes I couldn't possibly remember. The shadow, the basement, the boy with my eyes, the girl in white. I'd never met her, not truly, but she had always lived in me, and I knew. She had written letters too. When I finished, I flipped over the last page. At the bottom, in my handwriting, was a signature, Lena R., 1999. I was 9 years old, and I don't remember ever writing it, but the penmanship was mine. I didn't leave the apartment for 3 days. I couldn't. I just kept writing. It was like someone else was guiding my hand. Memories that didn't feel like mine. Names, voices, whispers in languages I didn't know. But my hand kept moving, page after page, until a new line came into my mind. The drawer in his old desk, the one you never opened. You tried once, but never found the key, because you weren't looking inside yourself. I went back to his house, the old one. The desk was still there, heavy wooden, locked. I remembered the key, or rather, I remembered the idea of it. I checked the photo chest, the fabric lining. There it was, rusty, tiny, waiting. The key fit perfectly. The drawer clicked open, and inside wasn't paperwork. It was a notebook, a school notebook, mine, labeled September 1999. First page, my handwriting. Today I saw a girl come out of the floor. She didn't speak, but I knew she was angry. Second page, Dad told me not to tell Mom. Said it was just a bad dream. But she was wearing my sweater, the one I lost last month. I hear her when I sleep. She breathes with me. I want her to go away, but Dad said she'll stay as long as I remember. My hands trembled. I didn't remember writing any of this, but the notebook was real. And at the very end, one last line. I won't write anymore, because she's reading. I remembered something else. I had an imaginary friend, a girl. I never saw her face, but she was always with me. We never spoke out loud, only through thoughts. I called it the quiet game. And Dad, he didn't punish me. He just said, don't say her name. That's how she stays real. Now, she felt real again. I came home that evening, and on the table, another letter. I knew you'd find it, and I knew you'd forget again. But she never forgets. Don't look for her in the mirror. She's already behind it, waiting for you to admit that she is you. On Friday morning, I woke up to a sound, not knocking on the door, but the mailbox. I ran down barefoot, heart racing. Inside, one envelope, black, for the first time, different. No name, no stamp, just one word, last. I held it in my hands, stared at it, didn't open it right away, because I knew, once I read it, something would end, or maybe something else would begin. You were brave, not because you understood, but because you stayed. The shadow isn't your enemy. She's your echo, your blood, your inheritance. Every woman in our line feared her. Your grandmother, your mother, and you. But you wrote, and that made her real again. Under the stairs, there's a box. It's always been there, but now you'll finally see it. Take it and open it where it all began. Then choose for yourself. I knew the house he meant, the one we lived in when I was little, the one we sold years ago, but I still had the spare key. I drove there in silence, Under the staircase, a box, wooden, small, covered in dust. I took it to the attic, the place I once feared the most. I opened it. Inside, sheets of blank paper, a pen, some old drawings, childlike, dark, faceless figures, and one small note. Write it down. All of it. Finally. So I did. I sat on the floor, and I wrote, not as a daughter, not as a woman, but as a witness, to pain, to silence, to all the voices buried under skin. I wrote for her, for me, for every version of myself I had forgotten. And when I stopped, I heard it, my voice, not a whisper, not a scream, just mine, pure, steady, real. And a thought floated through me. You don't need to remember anymore. Because now, you know, I left the box in the attic, locked the door, went home. No more letters, no more shadows, just stillness. But not the kind that waits, the kind that releases. And if a letter comes again someday, I won't be afraid. I'll open it, and maybe this time, I'll write back